is how can issues of polygamy be discussed in an agreeable way? But then we should put in mind that, okay, we have some people who discuss that, okay, you're not going to take on another wife before the marriage. Then in the marriage, you're saying you want to do that. So how do you handle such a situation?
Well, yes, before you get married, you can go into an agreement with your spouse. Under Sharia, it is recognized that your spouse says they're not going to go into polygamy. If they move the goalpost, then they've violated an agreement, which under Sharia, you are now protected. Having said that, we also need to recognize that polygamy is permitted. And if it's something you did not discuss ahead of time and your spouse has certain needs that aren't being fulfilled and they decide, I want to go into polygamy, then you need to recognize that you cannot stop them. It's just a question of deciding, can I live with it or can I not? Can I stay and can I so-called share my husband? But don't make the mistake of fighting so hard that you go against Allah's decree. But when I say decree, I'm still not saying that Allah says it's compulsory to get married to 2, 3, 4, or 5. Obviously, the clause there is if you can be just and if you can treat them equally. You must remember that. We have so many men today who abuse polygamy. They've not finished taking care of one family and fulfilling their rights and obligations to one. Then they go and multiply times 2, 3, and they add a 4th one. And each spouse's rights are equal. There's no seniority when it comes to polygamy to say, oh, this is the first wife or this is the new kid on the block and she gets what. It does not work like that. Allah is going to question you about how fair and just you were to each wife 100%. So we have to be careful playing with fire again in that area. One of the biggest mistakes a lot of men make is, I'll talk about both sides, is the fact that they don't let their spouse know beforehand. The woman just finds out when the nikah has taken place, or I have a friend who found out on Facebook that her husband had taken on another wife. And you can imagine there is no way she will handle that properly. It's hard. She's a human being with feelings and emotions. So it created a crisis in the home because it was her friend that called her and said, oh, I saw pictures your husband had taken on another wife. Eventually they got divorced. But the women also have a role to play. You need to make sure that you do not push your spouse to go and marry a second wife. Are you both fulfilling each other's needs, wants, and fantasies? Or like I remember my husband was sharing with me a time when a gentleman who had not been faithful to his wife was justifying his actions. Like, okay, I bought lingerie for my wife. I bought all this sexy stuff that she should wear. And she said, she's not a prostitute. She's not going to wear it. Whereas he had needs which she was not fulfilling in the bedroom. No justification for what he did. That's between him and his God. But it's something that I always try to caution women. Do you bombard your spouse with wahala? As soon as they come in the home, you don't have good timing and you just shoot and start saying whatever comes to your mind at the wrong time. Are you repelling your spouse? Are you chasing them away? Or are you doing everything in your power, yet in spite of that, they still have something else that they need, which they feel this person is going to bring to the family? You cannot fight it. You just have to decide, can I live with it or can I not? And Allah gives you options there. And you can talk to, I'm not a scholar, you can talk to someone in maybe a Sharia court or a scholar who can advise accordingly as to what are your reasons, but make sure you don't offend Allah by protesting against polygamy. Mine is just let there always be dignity and mutual respect in how you conduct these things. So you don't leave one spouse feeling broken, small, inadequate, not good enough, and make this spouse feel like she and her kids are no longer, like I say, the new kids on the block or the flavor of the month kind of thing. I think it's the way it's done that I find very, it's sad. It could be done in a more proper way, in a dignified way, without making someone feel worthless. I think, let me put it that way. Yeah.